What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream. And man, I slept well last night. I'm not gonna lie, people. After watching that snore fest of a game in the Champions League against Shakhtar Donetsk. Listen, we got the 3 points. Job done, no problem. But damn, it was not a great game, that is for sure. I'm sure all of you watched it. And yeah, strange performance. But we'll go into more detail. Obviously, I went to the game last night, took Cruz to the game. Good experience, father-son moment, you know, them priceless moments. His first Champions League game, he was hyped. And obviously, shout out to Comma V for the tickets and the hospitality. And also, thank you to every one of you that has gone and followed them on social media. As I said, if you are part of the community, follow them on Twitter or Instagram to be in with a chance of winning some prizes. I'm going to be giving away some tickets in the next few weeks to one of the Arsenal games, and hopefully it's a better game than last night. So big up to Comma V for the hospitality, and make sure you go and follow them. It's free, and like I said, we'll be giving things away. Damn. How are we going to break this one down, man? I tell you, I mean, it's a good job it was hospitality, because there was a TV screen, there was food, there was drink. I'm watching, like, there was parts of the game, I'm watching Real Madrid on the screen. Vinicius Jr.'s going wild. And, you know, I'm like, yo, but do you know what? Without overreacting too much, if I do add a little bit of context to the situation, is it's a cup competition, and you've got to win games in cup competitions. And I do think there was a hangover from Bournemouth. I don't mean because they all played like they were drunk. I mean because literally I think that result really almost knocked the stuffing out of the team. And I felt they looked very flat yesterday. And we almost look short of ideas. I think over the last 4 or 5 days, you're now starting to see this team is being affected by the injuries. You know, we were kind of getting through with without Odegaard, but I think last night we missed Odegaard. Then you add Saka into that mix as well, and I just don't think we're dealing with those two being out. Now you can say, well, if you let Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira go, why did you not buy a sufficient backup to Martin Odegaard? You know, and then the Saka backup, whether that's Jesus or Sterling, that's not happening either. So you can always say, why is the squad depth not stronger? But I think we're running into problems. I think we're running into problems. The injuries are mounting up. It's a mini injury crisis at the moment. I remember 2 years ago, the year we finished we were 8 points ahead of Man City. I thought we were unbelievable going forward that season. I think Arteta last season wanted to make us a little bit more, a little bit stronger defensively. And then this year, I think he's almost doubled down on that again. And I think it's made us took a little bit away from our attack, but we'll see. Yeah, the atmosphere was absolutely non-existent. In fact, the loudest fans in the ground were the Shakhtar Donetsk fans, who never stopped singing and jumping up and down last night. So Mustafa said, Arteta said we will be flying versus Liverpool. I really hope so, because if we play like we played last night, we'll get beat on Sunday. I didn't do a fan cam. I didn't bother, you know. I had to get Cruz back. He had school today, so I didn't bother doing a fan cam. I didn't enjoy the game without Curtis Edstein. I appreciate it, man. I'll be back for Liverpool. Don't worry. Orban said that stadium is a library. And George said, never thought I'd say it, but I'm looking forward to the international break, for real. 72-hour ban lifted. Heads back on. Big up Unknown C. And penalty spot, big up. He's back as a member. Appreciate that. And Ethan said, what was the score of the Celtics game? Boy, they dunked on the New York Knicks, that's for sure. They couldn't handle them. But yeah, we'll move on from that. Right, I'm going to apologise in advance. I almost don't want to talk about this game, but what choice have I got, people? We have to review it, good, bad, or ugly. We will review the game that has just happened, and it was Arsenal 1, Shakhtar Donetsk 0. And I tell you what, again, I turned up at that game saying, Goal difference could be important. Let's go and score a few goals. Let's put on a performance. And again, I'm sitting there 50, 60 minutes into the game just going, forget the performance. Let's just win the game again. I've repeated that comment so many times this season. It is unbelievable. And I've said this before, grinding out results cannot be maintained over a long period of time. Over a handful of games, you say, yeah, man, we didn't play well. It's a sign of a good team. That's what they say if you can play poorly and win a game. You can't do that over 10, 12 games. You will get caught out like we did against Bournemouth, like we did against Brighton, and like we nearly have done in multiple other games as well. I'm really wondering when I'm going to see this team actually perform and win a game. PSG was our best performance of the season, but outside of that, you're getting 20 minutes of it, 10 minutes of it, 15 minutes. I don't understand. The balance is off. I don't care what anyone says. The balance of this team is not right. It's not right. Calafiori's almost up front. Now, you get hit in transition. He can't recover. The midfield's not working. Declan Rice looks an absolute shadow of the player we bought last season. He looks nowhere near the player he was last season in this new role. That doesn't work. We're obviously missing Odegaard. We don't have sufficient cover. The cover we have got, we're not using in Nwaneri. Havertz, I mean, listen, I kept a close eye on Havertz last night because I thought, let me really see this guy. Because sometimes you're at the game, you can do a bit of a player cam. You can't always do that on television. And you know what? Havertz is a tidy, technically clever footballer. He has nice touches. His passes are nice. His movement's clever. But he's not a goal scorer. He's not somebody that scares you as a centre-back. He will chip in with goals. He'll get you 10, 12, 14, 15 goals. But he's not lethal. He's not a gunman. And yeah, there are teams that don't have a striker like that and have been successful, like Liverpool when they had Firmino. But they had Salah, who was a gunman. They had Sadio Mane, who was a gunman. Arsenal, and I got to go full screen with this. Seriously, people. Whether you're a huge fan of Kai Havertz or you're not a huge fan of Kai Havertz, Arsenal are not going to be overly successful with Kai Havertz as their striker. It is not happening. Not in this team. If we had a winger or two that were getting 20 goals, 17 goals, and then Havertz chips in with a 15, you might get away with that. But whilst we've got Saka who gets you maybe 15, Martinelli that might get you 10, 12, Havertz is not the answer, people. Come on. You've got to have somebody in that front line that can rip you to pieces. Vinicius is ripping teams apart. You know what I mean? Gyökeres can't stop scoring. Haaland will rip you to bits. He's not the guy, people. He's just not that guy. Havertz ain't going to get you over the finish line. He's a useful player. I actually looked at him last night, and thought he would actually play well off a striker, like as a support striker, double S, EAFC settings, FIFA. He would be a good support striker. He roams around. His link-up play is good, but he's not a clinical goal scorer, man. He's not that guy. I'm sorry. I'm not saying he's a poor player. You can see he's a talented player, clever player. But he's not the guy. Bergkamp was never the main scorer, nor was Cantona, and that's the kind of role that he plays. I'm not comparing him to those players in terms of ability, but he drops into those pockets. That can't be your main guy. It can't. He would be very good off a number 9 that's ruthless, but nah. Not for me, people. Not happening. But we'll see. We will see. Masterson said, Curtis, after watching the team firsthand, what can explain why we look sluggish these past few games? My theory is poor nutrients and lack of sleep. I mean, listen, no excuse for them guys. They're living good. I just think I think the system. I think we lack individual brilliance. I think the system holds some of the players back. And I think the injuries naturally will affect us. Odegaard and Saka are big players. And Rice playing in this new role doesn't work. So I think those are the 3 reasons. I don't think there's enough players in our team that can say, give me the ball, I'm going to make something happen. And I don't think the system always frees up this team enough to go and attack and dominate games. We've doubled down defensively. And then, like I said, the injuries. I don't think we had a good transfer window. I gave it a 5. I would give it a 4. I would downgrade it. Cooper said, anyone need a striker in January? Well, let's see if we do or not. We'll see. Right, let's go through this game quick. And I am going to make this quick because the game was a snore fest. And it doesn't even warrant a large period of time. Dimitro own goal. Martinelli did well. Got the shot off. Hit the post. Hit the keeper. Went in. 13 shots. 5 on target. 9 for Shakhtar. 1 on target for them. 56% possession. I have to say, Shakhtar Donetsk deserve a lot of credit. They spent less than £5 million in the summer transfer window. And at times, they had us on the ropes, people. You know what I mean? They had us on the ropes. So, you know, we spent over 100 million. They spent 5 million. And we were struggling to break them down apart from an own goal. They had a guy called Eggy Naldo. I mean, I've heard some Brazilian names before in my time. But the Omelette R9, if he could head the ball, or if he could finish, we would have drawn that game last night. The boiled egg R9 can't finish his dinner, people. Eggy Naldo, you know. Damn. Honestly, Brazilians will add Naldo on the end of anything and try and give it swagger. You know what I mean? It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Eggy Naldo. Yeah, that omelette Ronaldo can't finish, or we would have definitely drawn the game. Omelette R9, people, I'm telling you. Hospitality Curtis is back. Bro, I'm telling you now, it's a good job it was hospitality, because I was watching the Real Madrid game at times. I'm telling you. That was more exciting. But anyway, let's talk about Arsenal. Let's talk about the Gunners. Atmosphere was shambolic, by the way. Absolutely. It was a library in there. Let's start with David Raya. Made a good save at the end. Kept us in the game. Didn't have a lot to do. Only 1 shot on target. I give him a 7. Good concentration levels. Made a vital save. And yeah, man. 7 out of 10. Vinny Jr., yeah, he's overtaken Mbappe. I love Mbappe, but he hasn't worked yet. You got to give him time to settle. But Ballon d'Or Vinny is on a whole other planet. He's on a whole other planet. Let's go to Ben White. Ben White was below par again. Gave the ball away so casual in possession. It's unbelievable. He got booked and then came off because he was on a yellow card, and the manager's scared that he's going to get sent off. You shouldn't have to take a player off because he's on a yellow card. So that tells you fundamentally there's a problem at Arsenal. He doesn't now trust players on a yellow card. So Ben White gets a 5. Ben White gets a 5. And he better fix up for Sunday, because Diaz or Gakpo will cook this guy if he plays like this. He's come back from injury. He's had a stinker against Bournemouth. And he was poor last night against Shakhtar. He needs to fix up. He's lucky we got an injury crisis. We ain't got no choice. He needs to step up. Ayadeji, you're right. Just briefly on that. Kylian Mbappe's biggest mistake was staying at PSG for too long. He wasted 2 years in that league, and his level has not moved up. And now he's gone to Madrid, and he's playing up front. If he'd gone 2 years ago, he would have played left wing for Real Madrid, and they would have moved Vinicius Jr. But now Vinicius is at such a level, they've said to Mbappe, you got to go up front. And up front, Mbappe doesn't look that good. So, interesting. But Vinny, spectacular player, honestly. Big up my bro, Akeem. Arteta is not the guy. He might need sacking, dysfunctional attack. Listen, I know it's a conversation people don't like. But I think a trophyless season would warrant moving him on. I do stand by that. And I know people, context, and if we get to a Champions League final, or if it's a point behind Man City, I think sometimes context has to kind of go out the window. If you've got a job and the manager says to you, look, the deadline for this project is 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon. For the first year, you might go, yo, bro, but I went out on Thursday night and I got back late and my computer wasn't loading and my dog, ate my homework work and all of that. After a while, that context can't really run, brother. It's just, 5 p.m. Friday is the deadline. You either get it done or you don't. That's kind of where I'm at with Mikel Arteta, people. I'm going to keep it 100. I think the football is boring. I'll be honest with you. 2 years ago, I thought we were excited. We were battering teams, even last season. This season, I just think we had a poor transfer window. The team doesn't look like it's moved forward from last season. We're boring at times. Every game I'm going, just give us the win. The performance has gone. I think you have to start putting pressure on this guy. You really have to. Honestly, this is Arsenal Football Club. This ain't a project. We're not Brighton. We're not Newcastle. We're not some mid-table dons that you can play around with. You've had the time to build, produce something. It's got to produce something. How many players are improving? There's a few, don't get me wrong, especially in the defence, but Martinelli's no better now than he was 4 years ago or 3 years ago. Saka has stepped up a little bit, but we need more. We need more from the group collectively. But anyway, let's go into it. Ben White gets a 5. Calafiori, we're going to talk about his injury. I'll give him a 6. I'm going to be honest. At this moment in time, Calafiori, Marino, and Raheem Sterling, I'm not convinced by any of the new signings. Now, I don't want anybody to think that's me writing those 3 players off. Calafiori might become a top player. Marino might. Sterling might have a good loan spell. Who knows? At this moment in time, I don't look at any of those 3 players and think, you know what, you've pushed us up a level. I don't think that. I look at Calafiori, it's like a wild bull chasing after a red rag. Like he's a chaos merchant. He does good things in the game and you go, I love his aggression. He'll run up the pitch. He's on the left wing. He's in the number 10 role. He's in the penalty area having shots. He's clattering people in midfield. There's a likeable factor about him, and I'm not saying he's a bad player, and I think he's the best out of the 3 so far. But I'm not convinced by him defensively. I don't feel like he's made that back 4 better, is what I will say. I don't look at him yet and think, if I'm picking Arsenal's best back 4, he's not in it, if I'm being totally honest. I'm playing Timber and Ben White at fullback. Right now, he's a wild bull, people, chasing after a red rag. And he could be out for a while. Honestly, I'm not being reactionary. I honestly don't. And I wasn't saying similar last season because Declan Rice from day one looked like a beast in this team last season. Urian Timber in pre-season looked outstanding last season. So even at the start of the season, I was sitting there going, boy, Rice and Timber, they look like something's going to happen here. Havertz, I wasn't convinced, and David Raya, I wasn't. Raya proved me wrong. So I want to make it clear, I'm not writing them off. I will give them time. But at the moment, I'm not sure. And he could be out for a while. Gabriel and Saliba were solid. I know we weren't good last night, and people won't want to hear good ratings. I'll give them both a 7. I thought they were both solid. We weren't troubled at centre-back. It doesn't help when your right-back comes off, then your left-back comes off, and your right, it changes it. The 2 centre-backs were solid, 7 out of 10. No problem. Nobody troubled them, really. Let's go into midfield. Let's start with Thomas Partey. I think Thomas Partey is playing some of his best football in the last couple of years. The crazy thing about last night, again, that was frustrating, Thomas Partey at half-time, I sat there, I said, he's been our best player along with Martinelli. Some of his passing was brilliant. He was so calm on the ball. Comes out second half. He's a right back. What are you doing to him? Don't do that to him. He's 31 years of age. Allegedly. Sorry, I can't help it. It's a joke that I can't help but lean on. I shouldn't, but you don't put him at right back, please. They were cooking him at right back. He had a really good game in centre mid. I would have given him 8 out of 10. I'll downgrade it to a 7 because the right back performance wasn't pretty, but it ain't his fault. Don't put him there, man. You're trying to wear him out. Not your fault, Partey, but I would say one of our 2 best players, to be honest. he would have probably been pushing an 8. He's been in very good form the last few weeks. And Ben, that's a good point. He said, don't get fooled. It's contract season. And that is a good point. Sometimes you do get that, don't you? The contract's running down all of a sudden. You start to see performances. I'll give him a 7. He played really well first half. I'll give him 7.5. Thought he was excellent first half. Declan Rice, again, for me, average performance. I don't think Declan Rice has had a particularly good game all season. I've seen parts of the game where he's looked good, but I watched him yesterday and I'm thinking, he looks so average. He just looks average. There was moaning in the crowd. There was a point he could have played the ball into Trossard and he didn't want to risk it. And he just went sideways and kept the ball. I said, brother, El Neni and Jorginho could do that if you ain't going to go for that pass. In the 6 role, he was a beast last season. In the 8 role, it's a complete myth. He is an average player in the number 8 role. £20 million player. I'm not even exaggerating. In the 8 role, he's a £20 million player. Simple as that. You're wasting the guy completely. Wasting him. Last season, he gets in Team of the Year, so you change his role and put him in a role that he doesn't look comfortable in. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. He cost 105 million. He was average. I give him 6. He kept the ball. He just doesn't have a real effect on the game. Doesn't have a real effect on the game. So, yeah. Let's go to the 2 wide players. We'll start with Jesus. Jesus yesterday, right? Honestly, the whole crowd, you can feel the energy is not good towards Jesus at the moment. Jesus had very good moments in the game. Twisting and turning the left back. He had the shot. Some people saying I should have given Rice less than a 6, but maybe he could have got 5.5. But Gabriel Jesus, the end product was not there. He had a clear one-on-one. Havertz tucks it round the corner to him. I'm like, here we go. Here's the goal. Hits it pretty much straight at the keeper. He was lively. I was so willing Jesus to score. Because honestly, people, I want Jesus to recover from the position he's in now. Because I don't think Arsenal will sell Jesus in January. So I think we're stuck with him until the summer. Therefore, we need something from him. And I was thinking, and back out wide, maybe he'll be better. And he was lively, but I just don't think the end product was good enough. I give him a 6. Honestly, people, he should have scored. It's a sitter. We could have drawn that game, and if we did, you'd be looking at that chance and going, that's a poor finish. Gave the ball away a couple of times. He was lively, twisting, and I think he's better out wide than he is up front, but I would still get rid of him. I'd get rid of him in January. I just don't know if he will have a club that wants him. I mean, people saying try him in the 10 role. We're running out of places to put him in the team. He's just not the answer. His confidence is shot to pieces. He's a 6, nothing else. We need more creative and a mobile 8. Oh, you're talking about Rice, yeah. Big C, how was Jesus not scored in 23 games? I mean, the only thing I will say, he hasn't started a lot of them, but still, it's a disgusting record. When you're on £250,000 a week and you haven't scored in 23 games, come on. Get this guy out of the football club. Seriously. I'd approach every club in Saudi and offer him to him and see if he wants to go there. Doctor said, big up Curtis. Can't imagine how disappointing a match that was for Cruz. We look woeful, as bad as Arteta's first season managing. Going to get panned by Liverpool. And that interview ruined it. Well, Cruz enjoyed the experience, to be honest. You know, when you're a kid, you're hyped in it. Free food, free drink, comfy seats. You're watching Arsenal. You know what I mean? He's hyped anyway. But yeah, the game itself. I mean, like I said, at times I was turning around and watching Real Madrid on the big screen. Gabriel Martinelli. One thing I will say, Martinelli's a crazy one, isn't he? At times I'm shouting at the screen saying he's from Peru or he's from the Amazon rainforest. But I do think he's improved over the last 3 or 4 weeks from where we were 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, there was a lot of people in the chat saying, get rid of Martinelli. Where you are now with Jesus, a lot of people were at that point with Martinelli 4 to 6 weeks ago. I think at the moment, he's a bright spark in this team. And what I enjoyed about Martinelli yesterday, He's our most direct player. He's the player that actually says, give me the ball, I'm going to run at somebody. I'm going to cause you problems. I actually think last night was one of Martinelli's best performances I've seen for a long time for Arsenal, especially this season. Okay, the goal is not his, right? It's an own goal. But he slowed down. He put some good crosses in. Even the goal that obviously isn't going to be given to him, he cuts inside, then go. I liked his performance. It was an intelligent performance. I thought he played really well. I'll give him 8 out of 10. He was man of the match. He was our best player. He was our only outlet. And he ran at the fullback nearly every time he got the ball. So, you know, that's where we're at. That's where we're at with Martinelli. He got booked as well. But I thought it was a very impressive performance. And when you haven't got Saka, when you haven't got Odegaard, you need somebody. And he looked like the one that was saying, give it to me, I'll make something happen. I thought it was a fantastic performance. And when I'm looking at the 4 players in attack, Jesus, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli, the other 3 didn't really do anything. So he carried our attack last night. I give him 8.5. I give him 8.5, in fact. I thought he did really well. Football 14 said, Partey is our 6, no chance of getting that position. And I think that is the issue. Just going back, the issue is Partey in the 6 is better on the ball than Rice. He's more press resistant and he's more progressive with his passing. He's played in La Liga for years. He played for Simeone, possession-based football. Declan Rice played for David Moyes, who smashed the ball long to Antonio and tried to get the knockdowns. So Declan Rice is not comfortable getting the ball in the 6 role on the half turn under pressure. So the problem Arsenal have got, even though Rice is fantastic as a ball winner in the 6, he's not as good on the ball as Thomas Partey in the 6. Now, if you play Rice in the 6, you can't play Partey further on. He hasn't got the energy. So he's gone with the lesser of the 2 evils, leave Partey in the 6 and get Rice in the 8 for his attacking power and running, which he does have. But he's not good enough in that role. So then you've almost got a decision to make. Do you play Partey or do you play Rice in the 6? Eventually, Arsenal really need to put somebody in that 8 role that is better on the ball, whether that's Marino or we get somebody else long term. We'll see. We'll see. The front 2, as it was listed as 4-4-2. I mean, I'm going to start with Trossard. Trossard, mate, I'm telling you. That guy is just, he's the most confusing footballer I've ever seen at Arsenal. I don't understand him. One week I look at him, I think, damn, man, you're such a clutch baller, man. And the celebration and all of that. And then the next week, he looks like an old man with grey hair that still looks drunk. Stella or Trossard. End product wasn't there. I mean, don't get me wrong. Let's not make the penalty miss act as if he had a terrible game. He was average in the game. It was just an average performance. I'd probably give him a 6. But the penalty was so casual. I mean, I've got to downgrade him for the penalty miss. The lowest rating I've given was Ben White, who was casual, nearly cost us a goal, got booked and got dragged. I'm going to have to give Trossard a 5 as well. The penalty was poor. Why did he take the penalty? I got the impression, and I could be wrong with this, Havertz had an opportunity to, I think, equal or break Robin Van Persie's record, and Henry had the record as well. So I'm thinking Havertz got to take this penalty. He's good at penalties as well. I wondered, did they give Trossard the penalty as a pick-me-up? Because, you know, Arsenal, we're all about PR and sympathy. Trossard's had a bad weekend, played poor against Bournemouth, stitched up Saliba. I thought it was one of them, mate, you take it. To you know, boost your confidence. You don't do that at 1-0. You do that at 3-0 if you want and the game's done and dusted. You don't do that at 1-0, bro. Havertz should have took the penalty. You're a striker. You're trying to break records. You're the good penalty taker at the moment. Is Trossard even a penalty taker at Arsenal? I actually can't remember Trossard taking a penalty in a game. He probably has, but it should have been Havertz. The penalty was trash. It wasn't even properly down the middle. It was slightly to his right, caught the goalkeeper's feet. He's a super sub. It's a simple. You're Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, mate. Bring him off the bench when you need a goal. He's not the guy. And I honestly think there was a reason that the Saudis made that offer. I think Arsenal might have been tempted to sell him. But maybe he didn't want it. He'll be on the bench when everyone's fit, but he's not at the moment. And then Kai Havertz. Listen, Havertz, as I said, neat and tidy, nice touches, nice passes. There's no goal threat. Yeah, he will get you goals. Sunny afternoon at the Emirates when we're bopping teams. Havertz will score a run off doing that. He'll do it. He'll get you 12 to 15 goals doing that throughout the season. He's not the answer. I'm sorry. We've all seen... No, I don't care if you're 17, 18 years of age, if you're 20, if you're 30, if you're 60. However old you are, you have seen what clinical strikers look like. Whether you're young and Haaland's the best that you've seen, whether you're old and you watch players from back in the day, Ian Wright, or even beyond that, Ian Rush, Thierry Henry, R9 Ronaldo, anybody, name whoever you want. You know what a clinical goal scorer looks like. And Kai Havertz is not a clinical striker. There's games he doesn't even look like scoring. I'm keeping it 100. There's games he doesn't even look like scoring. He is not the answer. Has he improved? Absolutely. Can he offer something to the group? Yeah, why not? He's not going anywhere, is he? So we've got to work with him and see what we can do and what we can get from him. But he's not the answer. He's not the answer. He's not good enough. You're not going to win a title with Havertz up front. No shots against Bournemouth and one shot last night, which was a header. He's had one shot in 2 games. No away goals this season for Havertz in the Premier League. And like I said last year, he didn't score in the biggest games. If you look at last season, and I know people don't like this argument, we played Man City 3 times. Once in the Community Shield, twice in the league. He didn't score in any of those 3 games. We played Liverpool home and away. He didn't score. And we played Aston Villa home and away. And he didn't score. Those are the 3 teams that finished in the top 4 with us. Porto home and away in the knockouts. Bayern Munich home and away. No goal in all those games. Now, I'm not saying he didn't contribute. He got an assist for Martinelli against Man City. He got Konate sent off against Liverpool. He's a decent player. He's not the answer. He's not clinical. He doesn't do it in the biggest games, I'm afraid. He would be good off the back of a striker, an out-and-out number 9. He was quiet. I thought he had a quiet game. I'd probably give him... What did he do? I can't remember him doing much. 5.5. 5.5. Quiet game. I'm looking at Villa. Villa are taking off Ollie Watkins, who's probably, would cost you 80 million plus. And they're bringing on John Duran. And I'm sitting here going, hang on a minute. They're bringing on a striker that would arguably start for Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Like, we haven't got one of them. And I think, Latte, you're probably right. He said, but he doesn't want a clinical striker. He probably doesn't. He wants a link player. Rowan said Aubameyang had pace. Van Persie was clinical. Omri was both. Havertz doesn't have pace nor clinical. He's a link-up player. He's a very good link-up player. He drops into the pocket. He's hard to mark. He arrives late in the penalty area. He's got a decent left foot, decent pass. He's not bad in the air. He's 6'3". I don't want anybody to think, listening to this, that I'm saying he's a bad footballer. He's not. But I don't think he's the answer to what we need. To me, if you have a false 9 as your striker, then it means your 2 wingers have got to be big goal scorers. Because you're basically saying, I'm not relying on my striker to put up big numbers. So those numbers need to come from the 2 wide players, We've seen it with City at times when they got rid of Aguero. The goals were coming from, Mahrez and whoever else was out wide at the time. We've seen it with Liverpool. Firmino was only getting maybe 10, 12 goals, and it was coming from Mane and Salah. So we've seen it happen. Even if you look at last year, Real Madrid didn't have a striker. They put Bellingham as a false nine. But we don't have clinical wingers yet. So having a false nine and having wingers that don't produce big numbers, that ain't going to add up. So for me, listen, I said it before. Havertz, for me, I'm not convinced that signing was worth it. I would have rather spent the 65 elsewhere. Let's go to the bench. Who came off the bench? Jorginho, Marino, Sterling, Skelly. Skelly came on late. He got told off. He had earrings in. Sterling, little to no effect. Jorginho came on late. Marino put the cross in that led to the penalty. I can't remember much else. He's slow, by the way. Looks even slower when you're at the game. And that's that. Arteta, what? 5 out of 10. We scraped past Shakhtar. They're 4th in the Ukrainian league. And if the Omelette R9, Eggy Naldo as he's called, could have finished, we'd have drawn that game. I'd be having Arsenal therapy. So, it's a win. The one positive I'll say, it's a cup competition and we won and we're higher up the table now. 2 wins and a draw. And, we move on. We got Inter Milan away next. You're going to have to, perform a lot better than that. But listen, one thing I will say, we are missing Odegaard, Timber, Saka, Tierney, Tomiyasu, multiple players missing, Timber as well. One of the headlines of the game was this. I mean, that does not look good. I mean, you probably couldn't get your leg at that angle if you tried to do it. That is a nasty injury in my opinion. What we need to hope is that it's not anything serious. And the fact, he tried to carry on and then a minute later he's back on the floor. I always wonder with them situations, he's like, I know it's difficult, a physio, it's not like you can see through his skin and know exactly what it is, but he's had an injury, he's come off, he's gone back on the pitch and a minute later he's back on the floor. Is there no way of figuring out what it is? Who knows what that extra minute on the pitch did further to the injury? I don't know. Is it the ankle? Is it the knee? I don't know. It could be either one the way that angle is at there. It looks mash up anyway. Looks all over the place. I mean, apparently he's having a scan today. Arteta said, it doesn't look good at all. Another defensive injury. It's unbelievable. We're stacked with defenders and nearly all of them are injured. And the first thing you're thinking is, who the hell plays at left back against Liverpool? Because at the moment, Timber isn't available. We hope he's back for the weekend. Timber's got to be back. At the moment, Ben White, Arteta said after the game, it wasn't an injury. He took him off because of the yellow card. So Ben White's there, Gabriel's there. The other 2 are up in the air. Calafiori, I would imagine he's struggling to play for the weekend. So you're then looking at Kivior, Zinchenko, Lewis Skelly, and possibly, all being well, Yuri and Timber. If Timber's not available, I mean, wow. You're looking at probably Ben White, Gabriel, Kivior, and Zinchenko, or Lewis Skelly. I don't think he would play Lewis Skelly at left back against Salah. I think he would go with experience. He would probably go with Zinchenko, which is an absolute nightmare scenario. He destroyed him in pre-season over there in America. He was crying at Anfield. I mean, we can't play Partey at right back. In all seriousness, he'll get ripped by Luis Diaz. So I'm telling you, we better pray that Timber is fit and available. And then we can play him. Because we are short, desperately short at the moment. Which is crazy, considering all the centre-backs and left-backs and all the defenders we've got. Johnny said, if Timber isn't available, I'm changing formations. Yeah, we could possibly have to go to a back 3. Ricky, thank you very much for joining the channel, bro. Arsenal are a disgrace, said 5 years deep in a PRO cess forced onto the fans. Yeah, 100%. We've got to turn things around this year. Alex said, for those saying sack Arteta, please tell me who should we get? Man United can't get a replacement for Ten Hag and are ready to take Mikel if we do let him go. No coaches out there. Some people just hate Arteta. The only thing I would say, to come back at you there, right? And Alex, thank you for the super chat. If I'd said to you when Unai Emery was getting the sack, would you take Mikel Arteta from Manchester City, who's never managed? You would have probably said no, and rightly so. Nobody would be saying, let's get an assistant manager that's never managed. So this whole narrative of who can you get if you sack Arteta, I don't buy into that narrative, because at the end of the day, Liverpool got Arne Slot. He's doing a very good job at the moment. You've got managers like Xabi Alonso, who's won the Bundesliga unbeaten, who apparently is on the move in the summer. You've got Simone Inzaghi, who's won the Serie A title, got to a Champions League final. Zidane's out of work. There's multiple managers out there that have got a lot of pedigree that would be available in the summer, and some of them, they may be at clubs you might have to go and pay big money to get them out of there. Also, the other thing you said, and are ready to take Mikel if we do let him go. Man United are not going to go for Mikel Arteta if he leaves Arsenal. It's just not going to happen, in my opinion. So, yeah, listen, I think with Arteta, he's been here for 5 years. This is fifth full season. I think fans have a right to question him in his role. You know, that he has to deliver trophies now. It's as simple as that. He has to deliver trophies. Fitz said, I've said it a million times, Arteta is not a good coach. Importantly, what makes this worse is that Arteta thinks he is great. And yeah. And a lot of the fan base think he is. So he's led to believe he is. Big up Fitz. Beckley said, our best football come with Rice as at 8 in 23-24. Listen, when Partey did return and Rice went further forward, it worked for a little bit, but some things work short term and not so much long term. Sam said, plenty of injuries, needed an own goal to beat an average team, playing very boring football. The season isn't looking good, see. It could get ugly soon. Listen, by about 6:30 on Sunday, we'll have either rescued it or it could be very ugly. Brian Holiday said, starting Zinni versus Liverpool is a sackable offence. Also, we can say that Saka and Odegaard are not world-class, but look at the state of us without them. Listen, one thing I will not question is their importance and value to this team. We look an absolute state without those two in this team. And Latte said, I'm Arteta in, but Emery and Slot is better than him. I mean, listen, Slot, it's early, but listen, he came here with pedigree. He'd won trophies in Holland for a team that aren't even the biggest club in Holland in Feyenoord. And Emery, listen, Emery has, he's won multiple trophies. He's got Villa in the Champions League. Villa beating Bayern Munich. I know that whole argument came up a few months ago about Emery and Arteta, but I think Emery has proved that he's ahead of Arteta. I know people will say that Emery didn't do it at Arsenal, but he was only at the club for 18 months. He wasn't even given the players he wanted. He wanted Zaha, he wanted Fabinho, and they gave him Torreira and Pepe. It's not quite what he wanted, is it? So it's very difficult when you didn't get the players that you asked for. But listen, here's what it is. Slot, I think it's early to say how good he is. He hasn't walked into the most difficult of jobs. If I walked into a job and you gave me Alisson, who's arguably the best goalkeeper in the Prem, Van Dijk, who's probably the best centre-back in the Prem, Trent, who's the best ball-playing right-back, and then Diaz and Salah and Gakpo and McAllister, he's steadied the ship and he's put his stamp on it, but we'll see. We'll see on Sunday. Right, in terms of Sunday, of course, we're concerned. We're concerned, people. Let's hear what Arteta had to say after the game. And he made a worrying quote about Bukayo Saka, which I hope is mind games. I mean, he doesn't look happy. He does not look happy at all. The atmosphere was shocking. You think to yourself sometimes, and this is where I do say this, Match-going fans have a responsibility. And I really mean this. Match-going fans have a responsibility because when you're watching the game on TV and you're in your house, ultimately your noise level or whatever you're doing, whether you're watching the game in silence or you're shouting at the top of your voice, you can't affect the atmosphere inside that stadium. No one can tell me the atmosphere doesn't affect the performance of a football team sometimes, especially when you're a good team. How many times have you watched Liverpool over the years in the Champions League, and that Anfield Champions League night has just brought something? Even Real Madrid last night, they're being booed at half-time by their fans, 2-0 down against Dortmund. Second half, and they come back and win the game 5-2. And every goal that went in, it got more and more lively in it. That energy almost carried them over the finish line. The atmosphere last night was shambolic. Now, I'll be honest, I don't go to many Arsenal games, as you know. You know, I do the watch-alongs. But we've waited years for Arsenal to get back in the Champions League. We sat there and watched Europa League games against teams you've never heard of, with players you've never heard of. We get back in the Champions League and we're sitting there in silence. We're sitting there in silence like it's a library. Shakhtar Donetsk fans jumping up, singing all game. And I'm like, what's going on here? You've got to create an atmosphere. We're trying to win trophies here and our ground's silent. And I told you, a good friend of mine who played in the Premier League, I said to him, what's it like playing at the Emirates? He said, it's not difficult. I said, why? He said, the atmosphere is nothing to worry about. He said it's not a difficult environment to play in. The pitch is nice, the facilities is nice, the fans are not too irate. The atmosphere was awful last night, honestly. It might be because we just lost, might be because it was Shakhtar. I would say don't take the Champions League for granted when you've been out of it for 6 or 7 years. You know, make some noise, try and help that team over the finish line. It's the atmosphere is awful inside that stadium. I think people are forgetting how many years we've been out of that Champions League. I would appreciate every single game you get to go and watch that team, whether they're winning trophies or not, but I don't know. I think a lot of it is to do with the red membership. The people change. If you're not a season ticket holder, the people in those seats are changing every week. So it affects the atmosphere, because you might have had a lively atmosphere in this part of the ground, but then 500 of those fans are not there this week. Atmosphere was woeful last night. I can't stand the Emirates. I find it a soulless experience going to Arsenal games. It's nothing like the old days at Highbury. I think the problem is when you move into a new modern stadium, if you don't win big trophies there, you know, that history isn't built there. Even though Highbury was brilliant because it was close to the pitch and the atmosphere was great, because we won major trophies, it was so lively. The Emirates, we don't have that. We've got a few FA Cups. So it's not as boisterous. Let's go through what Arteta said after the game. And listen, like I said, people, I understand football sometimes, and in any sport, you can be affected by the previous game. We had a terrible result on Saturday, and it will have had a big effect on the group. They know that was an embarrassing defeat, and I think it played a part in our performance yesterday. I thought we were flat. I thought it was, you know, almost playing on the minds of the players, which didn't help. On getting the job done tonight, I think we were two very different halves. First one, we were dominant. We created 4 big chances. We should have converted them, put the game to bed with the amount of dominance. The second half was different. We looked tired. We lacked that sharpness with and without the ball to regain the ball in the right moments as well as the right areas, giving the ball away that allow transitions. We had 2 big chances again. We missed a penalty, and that emotion again was too difficult to overcome. We have to begin, but credit to them. They're a good side. The moment you allow them space, don't finish actions and give them a chance to run, they're a threat. It's the Champions League. Get the win, clean sheet, and move on. And I hear that. And I did say the other day, didn't I, people, that we are an emotional group. And I don't think that's a good thing. I think you have to be calm. I think Manchester City, they're like robots. And I think it helps them when they're under pressure. And I think we need to do that. Nyam and waffles, sipping syrup. The light rain from Ukraine falls mainly on the cone man, drained out by that cone man music. Penalty Spot said real fans will get behind the team. Those on an evening out, not so much. I hear you. I hear you. Right, on Ben White and Calafiori, he said, Ben was my decision to take him out. He had a yellow card. We have played enough with 10 men in certain periods. They had a lot of intensity on that side and a lot of attacking players. We didn't want to take chances. With Ricky, it's something different. He felt something. I don't know the extent of that. In that sense, it's not great news. On preparing the team to face Liverpool, well, we played 2.5 days ago after the internationals. After flying from Brazil and many countries, I was expecting we could drop off a little bit. The fact we could put so much in the first half and didn't convert and get the distance in terms of the result and the scoreline, I think we paid a little bit. And the thing is, it's harsh, but you can't even give him that excuse because Liverpool had players in Brazil. Alisson was in Brazil. McAllister was in Argentina. You know what I mean? Diaz was in Colombia. We can't do that. They've had the same thing. So... And Liverpool played Sunday against Chelsea. That's a harder game than Bournemouth. And they've got RB Leipzig away tonight, and that's a harder game than Shakhtar at home. So, unfortunately, you can't use that excuse. I know injuries are hurting us, but on whether this week will be a good time to prepare for the weekend, he said, we'll review what we have to do, have a day off, and then 2 days to prepare for the game on Sunday. On Martinelli's performance, he looked really sharp. He looked really fresh, fresher than anybody else on that pitch. You noticed that against Bournemouth. You could tell that he was different. He had another gear. He added another level of threat. On the decision for Trossard to take the penalty, he said, yes, they made that decision. The penalty taker normally is Bukayo or Martin. After that, we have 2 or 3 players who can take it. They made the decision, and unfortunately, Leo missed it. But as you said, it's an opportunity missed. Now, that's interesting because... surely you would think that you would have a penalty taker. I mean, listen, at the levels I played at, we always had, you're the penalty taker. If you're not on the pitch, it's you. And if you're not on the pitch, it's you. The fact that he's allowing them to choose on the pitch who takes the penalty, I just think sometimes you need that structure. I'm the penalty taker. You know, I think it's too up in the air. We win a penalty and then we're looking at each other like, oh, you having it? You having it? No, your confidence is low. You had a stinker against Bournemouth, Trossard, so you're taking it. No, Havertz should have took the penalty. He's good at penalties. Saka's not there. Martin Odegaard's not there. You should be taking the penalty. The basic tactics. D. Ray said he played for Derby. You knew before the game, if we get a penalty, you take it. A free kick on that side, you take it. That side, you take it. Corners, you take it. We're freestyling on the pitch. The captain's armband, we dash that around every game. Gabriel, then Gabriel Jesus, then Declan Rice, then it's Jorginho, then it's Saka, then it's Odegaard. We throw that around, and now we're throwing around penalties. It's stupid. If we'd have drawn that game, I would have been going absolutely crazy about that penalty. Seriously, Havertz should have took the penalty. On Gabriel Jesus getting back to his best. I mean, there were good parts of the game, but he's nowhere near back to his best. Said, very important, he can play in different positions and roles. His attitude was exceptional. Very unlucky, he had 2 big chances that he could have converted to a goal. In many other areas, he was good and we need everybody. I need him to score soon. On the importance of qualifying from the Champions League as early as possible, that would be great, but at the moment, very difficult to look at the table because tomorrow it will change the amount of games and different opponents that we are playing. Champions League, a win at home in this format especially is key. Keeping a clean sheet, but as you said, the amount of injuries we are dealing, the situation we are dealing, happy and let's move on. It's another one of them games. Don't bother going to watch the highlights because you will be asleep. It was a snore fest. But listen, the overriding factor is we won the game. And that's all we can take from it. Sometimes you just got to tick it off and say, I don't want to watch the highlights. It was boring. We got to beat Liverpool on Sunday. Now, Arteta made a quote after the game, pitch side. When he was asked about Saka and Calafiori, he said, Calafiori coming off is a bit of a worry. We will see. Apparently he's having a scan today. Bukayo Saka versus Liverpool, he said, it's unlikely. He didn't train yet since the injury has happened. I mean, Lee Carsley said that this guy was close to playing in the second England game. Yet he's still not playing for Arsenal. over a week later this game is going to be. What the hell is going off with Saka? So has he pulled his hamstring? Is he out for weeks? Is it dark arts? Is he trying to lure him into a false sense? Oh, Saka's not playing and then you start him. I hope that's the case. If Saka's not in the starting lineup on Sunday, I'm worried. I am worried. Now, we did beat Manchester City last year with no Saka. And Jesus played on the right and had a good game, so you're hoping. But no Odegaard, no Saka, no Saliba would be a massive, massive concern. So I really hope he's just trying to lure on. He's slotting to a false sense of security. Oh, Saka's not going to play, and then you see him in the starting lineup. I would like to think he will play, but he hasn't trained yet. Maybe he's training by himself away from the group, but you would think that he will need to train with the team at least once. Mr. Poncho said, you taught not to trust Arteta regarding injuries. You know what he's going to say in the press conference on Friday. We have a training session this afternoon and we'll see how he feels. So we'll see. Hopefully it's dark arts. Where is Timber? He wasn't even asked about Timber in the press conference. Timber didn't even make the bench, and apparently Timber hasn't even trained with the group. We have got to get Timber and Saka on the pitch. Now, obviously, it's risky because you don't want to risk them getting injured. Next Wednesday, we play Preston in the Carabao Cup, and, you know, Saka and Timber should not be playing in that. The problem that you've got with Saka is it's a hamstring injury. And what you tend to find happens is if you've got a tight hamstring, and you come back too soon, there's always a risk of you completely pulling the hamstring. Now, a pulled hamstring can keep you out for months. Kieran Tierney pulled his hamstring, ripped his hamstring. He hasn't played in, 3 months? So, do you risk a Saka that's maybe 80, 90% fit because of how important the Liverpool game is, where the risk and reward could be a 80 or 90% Saka is still probably better than a Jesus or a Raheem Sterling. That might get you a win. But the flip side of that is he could pull his hamstring and be out for 3-4 weeks. Realistically, Arteta's probably not going to take that risk. So if Arteta thinks he's not 100%, I think Saka would probably be on the bench or not even in the squad. But I hope that this is mind games and he's available. As we said with Timber's coming back from an ACL injury. They can't risk it. Again, it's painful. This could be a very difficult season to be an Arsenal fan because you're going to have a lot of frustration with team selections. But I'm just hoping that he's available and that it's mind games. Sam said, how can we replace Arteta, who has spent 750 million and won 1 trophy in 5 years in an empty stadium? Flick was available. Inzaghi is available. Let's see. White Glove said, the football is putting the fans to sleep, Big C. I'm telling you, there's some heavy eyelids watching this football. Penalty Spot said, games have caught up with Saka is always going to happen. He hasn't been managed well. Hope he gets the rest he needs. And I'm sorry, you know, I've spoken about this before. He has to take responsibility, Arteta. We had a game against Bolton in the Carabao Cup a few weeks ago. Bolton at the time were 6th from bottom in League One. 6th from bottom in League One. And he starts Saka. And you're thinking, what the hell are you playing him for? Why are you starting him in a game of this nature against a team in League One that's probably very physical, that, you know, he should have been at home. He shouldn't have even been on the bench. Yeah, there's a report online, but the source is poor. I mean, there's some guy called Sam C who works for United Stand. I mean, come on. The guy works for Goldbridge. He could say whatever he wants. Saka is expected to be available to face Liverpool on Sunday. Now, I hope he's right. I hope he's completely right. But when I see his name on the team sheet, then I'll be happy. If not, we'll leave it alone until I see I need to see a better source than that. Waneri again, people. Sub not used. What is going on? What does that guy have to do to get a kickabout for this team outside of the Carabao Cup? Why can't you bring him on for 15 minutes, 20 minutes? Give him a chance. What is the problem? We make documentaries about Hale End. we actually find a young player with huge potential and you just sit him down on the bench. He's been promoted to the first team. He signed a new contract. He was being targeted by Chelsea and Man City, and you're just sitting him down on the bench. And don't bring him on. Don't involve him. He'll get to that point again in a year and he'll go, yeah, I'll leave. The way these other youngsters have left. Ridiculous. Why does he not trust his squad? Why does he only trust 13, 14 players rather than 16, 17 players? I don't get it. It's frustrating. Let's hope Saka is good for the weekend. LT said Sam C is good on team news. Well, I hope you're right. If he gets it right, then fair play. I'll give him his dues. And finally, again, I was speaking to a lot of our Arsenal fans at the game last night. Big up to everyone who approached me and stuff. Really appreciate that. And my general thing was, we need a striker. I don't care what anyone says. This club's got to buy a striker. In January. Forget the summer. This guy again scored last night. Got man of the match. Man of the match again. Go and watch his goal. Gets the ball about 40 yards out. Dummies it. Goes past the defender. Takes it round the keeper. Takes it round another defender. Slaps it in. Man of the match. No messing around. Oh, but he's only done it in the Championship. Okay. Goes to Portugal. Rips up the Portuguese league. Rips up the Europa League. 2 goals, 1 assist in 3 games in the Champions League. 2 man of the matches. Just get this over and done with. Get it over and done with. Stop messing about. Spend the money. We basically spent nothing in the summer. We made what we spent. So why can this club not go and buy a striker in January? Why do we always have to go around with a begging bowl out saying, have you got any change, please? Getting crumbs off the plate. Go and sign a striker. Osimhen scoring bicycle kicks. Gyökeres running from 40, 50 yards out, taking it round 2, 3 players and scoring. And we got Havertz here who's had 1 shot in 2 games. Come on, man. We need a striker. Even if you like Havertz, he needs competition, and Jesus ain't the competition. Get us a goal scorer. Give us a chance. Stop leaving us short. Because he'll end up at Man City or somewhere. Man City have only got Haaland. You know what these clubs are like. One of these clubs will just drop the bag on him. Chelsea could still do with a striker. Look at John Duran last night. The man was punching the chair like I was doing when we conceded a goal. He's fuming. I told you, this John Duran is going to get to a point with Villa where he's saying, you either start me or you start Watkins. And if it's Watkins, I'm leaving. So there's options. You can get Osimhen, release clause in January. You can get Gyökeres, release clause in January. John Duran's agent saying he wants to start or leave. There's players available. Penalty Spot said Fabregas, Wilshere, Rooney were all good enough to play at a young age. If you're good enough, you're old enough. Arteta does not blood the youngsters early enough. Waneri will look elsewhere. Yeah, he doesn't seem to trust them yet, which is a problem. Our fans are never honest till they leave. See Eddie for reference. They hyped him. Now they can see how average he is just beyond. I've said it for so many years, bro, TV1. You're spot on with your comment. Arsenal have this love fest with players. Oh, but Rob Holding is a good squad player. Is he? Do you know where he is right now? He's playing for Crystal Palace under 23s. He can't even make the bench. They're desperate to get rid of him. They're getting rid of him in January. He's 29 years of age, playing for the under 23s. But they used to say Rob Holding was a good squad player. Do you remember Callum Chambers? They said he was a good squad player. Do you know where Callum Chambers is right now? He's on loan in the Championship. He's playing for Cardiff. Callum Chambers is playing for Cardiff in the Championship. 29 years of age. Then you've got El Neni. Oh yeah, but you know, coaching badges, a good player. He's got a great attitude around the training ground. He plays for Al Jazeera in Egypt. No, UAE Pro League, sorry. United Arab Emirates Pro League, Al Jazeera. I thought that was a TV channel. That's El Neni. You got Cedric. Petrol Station Cedric. Out of contract. No other club wants him. So he's out of contract. And then you've got Eddie Nketiah. Your defence is in trouble when Nketiah's in the room. £30 million. 0 league goals in the Premier League for Crystal Palace so far. He's played 5 games, no goals, no assists. But your defence is in trouble when Eddie's in the room. No, your own team's in trouble when he's in your starting 11. That's what it is. We've been doing it for years. I still can't believe we got 30 million for Eddie Nketiah. You're right, Miles. We absolutely robbed them. Honestly, we robbed them. And that tells you everything about our squad players. Because look where they are. They're nowhere. Because they're not good. So, Gyökeres, please just sign him. But we won't. We won't sign him. We'll be linked with him 10 or 15 times in January until we ultimately don't sign him. Doctor said, genuinely, why would any striker go to Arsenal with Tapas Pulis track record? Strikers fall off under his management and are avoiding us like the plague. It's his kryptonite, strikers. No striker has thrived at Arsenal since Arteta's come in. That's something he has to prove. Aubameyang declined, got dashed on the left. Lacazette lost his hair. Jesus said, scoring goals is not my strength. It's like a chef telling you cooking ain't my best attribute. You'd walk out the restaurant. Havertz ain't a striker. He's an attacking midfielder. And then Nketiah can't hit a barn door at Palace. So, yeah, strikers are his kryptonite, people. But let's see what happens with this. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening, but let's hope so. Higuain settings with Gyökeres. Yeah, linked with him for ages, and it'll probably go somewhere else. But we will see. If you brought Haaland in tomorrow, he would be a 15-goal striker under Arteta. He'd be dropping deep. He'd have him in centre midfield. Listen, people, I'm out of here. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Really appreciate it. Dan Potts is live now. He was asking me to redirect. I haven't got the redirect settings set up. I will set it up in future so that I can redirect. He said he's live at 2:30. I don't know if he's still live now, but if you're looking for somewhere else, Dan Potts is live now. Football's 12th man. If you go over there, just put Curtis Raid in the comments so it looks like I've sent you all over there with the redirect. I'm live tonight, by the way, at 8 o'clock on James's channel. James from AFTV, Gooniverse. Yeah, I'm still moving analog, people. I ain't even set up the redirect. Me and Turkish are live on James's channel at 8 o'clock tonight, so that'll be interesting. He'll be talking tactics, and I'll probably be telling him how I don't think, we're playing good football, and Turkish will be going mad as well. So I'm on James's channel at 8 o'clock with Turkish, and yeah, if you want to go over to Dan's channel, Football's 12th man, I believe he's live now. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. and we'll be back for the Liverpool game on Sunday. No more going to the games. It's a snooze fest. So I'll be back this Sunday for that one. Big up to everyone locked in. Hit the like button and subscribe on your way out. And I'll see you all soon, people. Bless.